Hello and welcome to today's webinar for Just Planet's latest product update. Some preliminary information. As always, this is a go-to webinar and all attendees are automatically muted to optimize the quality of audio. If you do have a question, please feel very free to ask us via the in-app chat box, and we will take some time at the end of the webinar to answer any upcoming questions. Quick info about me. I am your host, Jan Vierguts. I am the development lead of Just Planet. So, without further ado, what's new? We added with this release the visualization horizon. We want to enable you to focus on the now by decoupling the scheduling and the visualization. We added auto assignment of job sequence numbers to help you update massive amount of new jobs, for example, and get you quickly to a very good starting point for your planners. And all of this is based on user selected rules. And additionally, we did some majorly internal shifts that, while not as flashy or forward-facing to you guys, majorly help us improve in the future. First up, let's talk about the visualization horizon. You can now decrease the visualization window independently from the calculation. This allows your planners to focus on the now and not be worried about the entire 1 or 2 year calculation window that you are currently actively looking at. Additionally, with using this, there are minor performance increases due to the more focused data points. And we're going to take a quick look at how this is looking in a couple of minutes. Our main goal here is to decrease the amount of data to the data that is actually important when you're doing your day-to-day planning. Because having all data visualized, even data that is planned to be done in 2 years, is usually not as helpful or necessary as just the information, yeah, this is planned for those dates, which we still do. None of the visualization impacts in any way the calculation. So you get the confirmation, yes, this is planned, this all runs on time, hooray. But focus on what optimizations can we do in the now. Next, about the internals and the minor updates, we made a huge update to the main visualization component. So the big Gantt chart that basically fills your screen when you open Just Planet is all developed in-house. And we had a major change there that allows us to much easier and much faster develop new functionality with visualization in mind, and helps us make huge strides in bug fixing and performance because our in-house team is now able to actually impact JPI immediately with all updates they are running. We also added sequence numbers to all relevant dialogues to make mass updates easier and faster. Before, you could only update the job sequence numbers in the corresponding dialogues, and now you can also change the orders of your resources and of your resource groups quickly just by going into the resource group and resource dialogues and change the numbers there. But again, we'll take a quick look at this in a couple of minutes. We also enhanced the ease of use in the calendar exceptions dialog by allowing you to now finally select resource groups to quickly add all related resources and therefore set exceptions for specific groups relatively quick and not having to search for the single resources manually. So let's take a look at how those things work. So this is a Just Planet account, and we're going to take a deeper look in the data in a couple of minutes. But first up, let's talk about the visualization horizon. As you can see here now, I have a fairly long plan, and this goes out for 52 weeks. So basically, I'm a year into the future. But as you can see, most of my immediate concern is in the next 3 to 4 months. What you also will notice is, and this is different as to what we had before, our time that we look back into the past is drastically shortened. because Just Plan It is not a tool for or focused on past analysis. But we still allow you to see this, and you can now determine how far into the past you want to look with a specific setting that we'll now take a look at. So if you go to Settings and go to this wrench symbol, what we now added here is the planning horizon. This is as it was before. So this determines how far into the future the calculation is running. And you can leave this as is. This is also kept as it was before the update. But we now added new functionality to the days before the planning start, and we added the visualization horizon in weeks. So regarding the days before the planning start, you can, to a maximum of 30 days, a maximum of 90 days, take a look into the past. So you can keep an eye out for the last 3 months if that is necessary for you. We usually say the last month should be enough of looking into the past for you to see anything that's running or has been run in the past weeks. And again, this is just the bar visualization that's missing here. The actual values are still in the plan, and you also in the tables. You can, all of this is still in the program, and you can still look that up, just not in the Gantt visualization. We also have now the visualization horizon, which can be at maximum the planning horizon, because looking further out than what you've actually calculated makes absolutely no sense. And we suggest keeping it to your immediate planning period. And as we saw, most of my immediate plans were in the next 13 to 15 months. So I'm going to reduce that down to 15 weeks. Weeks, not months, sorry. Now we hit OK. The information gets sent to the server, as this is a account-wide setting. So all users of this account will follow this setting. And now if we take a look below, we can see my way into the past has drastically expanded, as I set it to show me the last 30 days. And my way into the future has been drastically cut off because it only goes out to April. And this really allows me to actually focus on what I need to do in the next 4 to 3 months. You might even, depending on your plan and planning horizons, want to shorten that even more to the next couple of weeks, for example, for the next months, so that you have your planner really focus in on what's happening on the shop floor and where the firefighting needs to be. So next, let's talk about the other thing that we added, which is the additional options for you in the Manage All Data dialogues. So as you can see, I pulled that to the front for myself. We get a SECNO, so a sequence number column for resource groups as well as resources. And with this, I can quickly change whatever I need to reorder both the resource group view and the resource view to my liking. And I don't need to single-handedly set this up for each resource, send a change request to the server, get it back, do it again. Doing this all in one dialog step is just a lot quicker. If you do not see this column in your plan immediately, that is because we save your latest customization to the dialogues. For example, you are able to expand or shrink down the column sizes and so on. All of this is kept locally on your system. If you hit the column chooser here, you will then find the sequence number either here, or you might find it actually at the end of your table, and then you can simply put it where you think it fits best. That is not new, but I wanted to give you the quick reminder that this is an option. We also added the sequence number to a couple more places. For example, in jobs, before now, it was not possible to update the sequence number from the job details dialog. This option is now also given. So even if you have to go in with a shorthand, so from the job view, for example, hitting right click on edit, you are now also able to quickly change the sequence number while doing other updates on a single job. Additionally, what I also mentioned, we made a slight rearrangement of the calendar exceptions dialog. So first we did general rearrangement, so this all cleaned up a bit more, but we also added new functionality here on the right. As before, you can quickly select all resources in your plan or delete all resources from the selection. That hasn't changed, but you can also now add all resources from a specific resource group. And you can quickly scroll down your resource groups, select any of these, and the corresponding resources will be added here. And as you can see, this is additive. So if you select another group, the resources will get added step by step. Of course, they will only be added one time. So even if, for example, worker 82 is in 4 different groups that you select all of them, it will still just be there once because it's only one resource. After that, you can fulfill the standard feature fulfillment here for the calendar exceptions. And let's just say on March 31st, sorry, not on March, on July 31st this year, we're going to have an additional day of vacation. Add this to the exceptions, we'll get calculated down here, and on OK it will be added. I'm now not going to add this here, and I will get warned about this because I don't want to mess with my presentation data here. So those are the, I would say, one part of the changes, but not the biggest change. And for the biggest change that we added, we're actually going to go back into the PowerPoint for a couple of seconds or a couple of minutes, and that is the auto assignment of job sequence numbers. So why did we add this, or what do we want to enable you to do with this? We want to automatically calculate the sequence numbers for all the jobs based on customizable and KPI-based rules to allow you to recalculate your entire schedule with the click of a button. Now, what are the use cases for this? We want all of this is running with a premise that your goal is to minimize your jobs over due date. That means you want to minimize the amount of jobs that are too late. And this is something we think is one of your major concerns of our customers. We want to be able to get you to a great starting point for your planner really quick. We cannot guarantee that the result of any of what we do is a perfect plan, but it will always be a great starting point for your personal optimization. This can also and will also help when you're just beginning with JPI and do the initial upload of data and the initial data entry before your planner even got a good grip on what the possibilities of Just Plan It are. With this new functionality, you can get them to a great start and a great helping point. And this also helps when adding a lot of new jobs at once, because this immediately will cut down on the time spent by your planner figuring out where in the plan and in the sequence order these new jobs need to go. Let's take a look at the criteria that you've actually have available for you to choose from when thinking about the automated assignment. So one is the due date. The due date is fairly self-explanatory. This will assign the new sequence number based on the time left before the due date, and the sooner the due date comes, the lower the sequence number will be, and the lower the sequence number will be, as is the base of Just Plan It, the earlier the job will be planned in. Next, the KPI is the buffer level. We added the buffer level, I believe, sometime early last year as a information for you about the job status as is. And this is the reason this is a iterative criteria. Now, what do I mean by that? The buffer level is based on the current schedule. This means that every interaction you do and every replanning will change the buffer levels of targeted jobs. And therefore, if you hit the buffer level criteria once, you will get a result. And if you hit it again, you'll get another result because the buffer level will have changed. This is why this will cause sweeping changes to the entire schedule. And why you will notice that if you keep clicking on it, that you will at some point go into circular structures where the plan will jump between certain levels of results regarding our target goal, which is the minimization of the jobs over due date. Quick reminder what the buffer level is. The buffer level is the time between the end of a job, the scheduled end of a job, and the due date. So let's say you have a job planned and for Tuesday and the due date was on Friday. You will have a buffer time of 3 days. And you know that the job will take at its longest point 1 more day to complete. This is the MRCT, the max remaining cycle time. You will get a buffer level of 3 because we divide the time between the end of the job and the due date, the 3, by the 1 day of completeness, the 1. So we get a buffer level of 3. Everything should be good. Other criteria that you have available to you are the customer field, the custom field that you can add yourself, and the job status. These are doing value-based ordering. What do I mean by value-based? I'll go into that in the example down below. When you enter a custom or select a customer field or a customer for the criteria, you will need to enter a value to match when setting up the rule. And this packet of rules allows you to most freely customize your rule set, because since you are adding the values that we're sorting by, you can actively decide this. But this also comes with the most maintenance that you need to do to keep the fields up to date with your plan and responsibilities. Now let's go into an example here real quick. If you add a custom field priority to your job and fill this with field on high priority jobs with a 1. Next, you set up a priority rule with value 1. Then this will mean that all jobs with priority set to 1 will be scheduled first. Irregardless of other criteria, if this is your number 1 rule, all my high priority jobs need to be scheduled first to guarantee the best placement for them. This will achieve this. It is advisable, though, to set up a secondary and non-value based rule, so that because the order inside the priority 1 rule should still be determined KPI based. Again, this is a lot of information, and we can take a quick look at this in a couple of minutes in the software itself. And finally, we added a new criteria to this, and this is the max buffer. The max buffer is similar to the buffer, but using basically real time and not work time. So what do I mean by this? This is about the time between the planning start, so the earliest point that a job can start, and the due date minus the rest time that this job needs. So coming back to our example from earlier, we had a job that ended on Tuesday, but let's say it started on Monday, because our planning start is Mondays. So we have our time from our planning start on Mondays to our due date on Fridays. So we have 5-day time window, and our job has a MRCT of 1. So the max buffer for this job is 4 days. We have 4 days that we can theoretically use for other things before this needs to be done. Please note, for most criteria, and with most, I mean basically everything that isn't value-based, these criteria are based on due dates. That means if you have jobs without a due date, these jobs will be put to the bottom of your list, because as our main goal, again, to reiterate, is to decrease the number of jobs over due date. Jobs without one can never be over due date, so they can be scheduled whenever. Now, to accompany this, we also give you the option to exclude jobs from the automatic assignment. Because as with all the rest of JPI, we firmly believe that your planners know your reality on the shop floor best. That means everything we can do might be left to hang out to dry on the reality of your shop floor. And everything we do is an estimation, because you can never achieve a full, perfect reality in a program. So whatever we get here is intended to create a great starting point for your planner and allow them to optimize it. But to allow for that, it is necessary for us to allow your planners to make sure that their improvements stick. So they can explicitly exclude certain jobs from reassignment, and these jobs will thereafter keep their current sequence number, no matter how many iterations of the automatic assignment you are triggering. Finally, I want to leave you with some best practices before we take an actual look at how this looks in the software. We spend a lot of time when developing this trying to really understand and get to the bottom of how this best could work. And the two things that we generally found we really want to share with you here, and that is one, the more restricted your plan is, the better results you will get using the buffer level. And that is because bottlenecks prohibit the scheduling engine to select better overall results by spreading the workload. If you have a strict bottleneck in your plan, then you can only achieve better results by ordering the chain on that resource. And we found that the buffer level is better suited to handle this than other criteria. On the other hand, the higher the degree of freedom in your plan is, and what we mean with restricted and degrees of freedom is, the less constraints you have, the less or the bigger your resource groups are, the more options you have in each resource group, the better the max buffer criteria can deliver and get. By using the max buffer, the engine will make better use of available resources. But, and that is important, if your plan contains a lot of impossible jobs to complete, for jobs that have way longer remaining times than they have actual time to complete, these will all be put first and will clog up your system, snowballing into other jobs being late. Just to make you aware of this. But now, after a lot of talking, let's have a look at how this is actually working. So if we take a look at my plan here, we can see that I have currently 44 jobs over due date. And just as a quick reminder, you can get this KPI overview in the Understand Schedule tab by hitting the newspaper icon here, the Show KPI bar. You can show or hide this with a simple click here. Now, we go to the settings, and we're going to find a new tab over here, the job sequence number calculation. We're going here and we see I have currently no rules set up. So if I click here, it's necessary for me to fill out at least two fields, and this is the order, which is the priority of this rule, and the criteria I want to use. Just to show you what I meant with the values, let's take a look at the customer first real quick. When I create this customer rule, you can notice here that this has a value field. And in this, I can add specific customer names. And if I do this, all jobs with this exact customer will be sorted to the top of my sequence number list, and therefore planned earliest. And then, of course, you can go ahead and add multiple stages here. For example, okay, all of my Netronic customers go here. All of my Max Business customers are going next, and so on. Of course, it's also possible for you to change the order by using the buttons up here after selecting a single line here. Or to remove all the created rules. Now let's take a look at the other rules that we have. For example, one of the options we had was the buffer level. We hit OK here, and this is the first time this account activates the automated scheduling, which is why, or the automatic sequence number assignment, which is why this is now going set up, which is why the plan is reloading here. We can see here this is still the same plan. We successfully created job criteria, and we will find under the Update tab, this button is now active, where it says Schedule here. Recalculate job sequence numbers. If I click this now, the request will be sent to the server, and the server will then look at all jobs in the plan, calculate their current buffer level, and immediately change the order of all of them here. And as we can see, this immediately caused us to reduce the amount of jobs over due date by roughly half. So this is a great result, but I think we can do better. I know this plan, I know my plan, as I said, like every one of you, you know the reality of your plan a lot. And yes, the buffer level helped, but I know I have a lot of degrees of freedom in my plan. But I don't trust the buffer level yet. Maybe let's take a look at the due date first. Because some of you might think, yeah, just ordering it by soonest due date will always be the best case. Let's take a look what happens here. As you can see, nothing happened now because I have not ordered it. I just changed the setting. So you always need to hit this button to apply the new rules. And we shaved off 7 more overdue jobs. So this is already looking even better. But, and this is now the critical part, this is a static value, so we are free to experiment a bit. Let's take a look at this max buffer value. Maybe it helps. Again, this just changes the setting. We do not actually calculate yet. We're going to hit back to update, recalculate our sequence numbers. And hit 3 more. And this is the point, if the amount of better results gets really, really low, this usually will be the sign for you that, okay, maybe we're reaching the end of the power of the automatic scheduling. Maybe this is now time to actually use our planners who know even better than just plan it and do manual work here. But we also want to make sure that some of the jobs stay exactly where they are. And for example, we see here, if we take a look at the first line, this really has no other place to go without getting late because it's really, really close to its due date already. what we can do is right click here and say X or include in sequence number calculation. If we hit that, again, nothing changes calculation-wise, but we see here now a pin. And this pin means that no matter what the calculation result does here, this job will stay at position 1 no matter what. Of course, you can also go ahead and remove this, simply click the same button again. You also have that option when going into the set sequence number dialog by unchecking here. Quick additional note, every intentional change of the scheduling number by your planner, for example, let's take job 2 and drop this down here. Job 92. Right. Every intentional change will also automatically set this. Just so that you are aware of this. Again, we really think that this feature is going to help you get really fast to really good starting points for your planner and really help you improve your scheduling experience with Just Plan It. But with that, thank you very much for your kind attention. If you do have questions, feel free to ask them in the chat box. I will stay here for a couple of minutes more and answer whatever comes in. And otherwise, we're also always reachable at our in-app chat box at support@justplanet.com, or my personal email is on screen here. Again, thank you very much, and see you next time. Happy scheduling.